It was too late for me to still be awake when I found my husband's phone sitting on the kitchen counter. The glow of the screen lit up the otherwise dark room, and something about it felt strange. He never left it lying around, never. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut, that same quiet voice that had been whispering to me for months, told me to pick it up. My hands were cold as I swiped the screen. His password was the same, and that fact alone made my stomach twist. If he was hiding something, wouldn't he have changed it? The messages were nothing. Work chats, group texts, the usual. But then I opened the gallery, and there they were. Video after video. At first, my brain didn't understand what I was seeing. It was just movement, color, sound. And then I saw her face. My sister, my own blood, and him, my husband, with her. I dropped the phone. Literally dropped it onto the tile floor. My breath came out in a sound I didn't recognize. It wasn't a cry, not yet. More like an animal sound, guttural and raw. I sat on the cold kitchen floor, clutching my knees, staring at that phone like it was a venomous snake. The house was so quiet. The refrigerator hummed softly. A clock ticked somewhere in the hallway. How long had this been going on? I didn't want to know. And yet, I picked the phone back up. I watched more, each one worse than the last. Different clothes, different days. One of them was in my own bedroom. My own bed, the one where I raised 3 children, where I had whispered prayers into the pillow, where I had cried after my mother passed away. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I didn't remember how long I stayed there on the floor. When I finally moved, the sky outside had started to lighten, that pale blue-gray that comes just before sunrise. I stood, legs numb, and walked through the house. Every room felt haunted. The living room where we had celebrated birthdays. The hallway where my sister once slept over after a bad breakup. The kitchen table where my husband had kissed me on the forehead every morning for years. And now it was all tainted. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels too heavy for its own good. The clock over the kitchen sink ticked softly, each second echoing in the empty space. I wasn't supposed to be awake this late. My bones ached from the long day, and the sensible thing would have been to crawl into bed, close my eyes, and let the night take me. But something had pulled me into the kitchen, and there it was, his phone. It was sitting face up on the counter, its faint glow almost eerie in the dark. My husband never left his phone out, not like this. That was the first red flag. He guarded that thing like it held the nuclear codes. For a long moment, I just stood there, staring at it. My hand hovered above it like it might burn me if I touched it. Don't, a part of me whispered, because I already knew deep down, I knew. But my hand moved anyway, fingers brushing over the smooth screen. It lit up at my touch, and I felt my heart jump. His password. The same as always. 4 little numbers that I had typed 1,000 times before. I told myself that if he had changed it, I would stop right there. That would be the sign to put it down and walk away. But it opened, and that was the second red flag. Because if there was nothing to hide, why did I suddenly feel like the air had been sucked out of the room? I went to his messages first. Work chat groups, sports updates, some memes from his friends. Nothing out of place. My stomach unclenched a little. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was paranoid. Then, without thinking, I tapped on the gallery, and there it was. The first video auto-played, sound muted. At first, I couldn't even make sense of it. My brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Then I saw her. My sister. My baby sister. The one I had defended 100 times growing up. The one I had taken in when she had nowhere else to go. The one whose tears I had wiped after her heart was broken. By some boy who didn't deserve her. She was smiling, and he was with her. My husband. The man I had shared my life with for more than 3 decades. I dropped the phone so fast it clattered against the tile floor. Screen flashing as it landed, face. My breath caught in my throat, my hands trembling so hard I thought I might throw up. I wanted to run. Out the door, down the street, anywhere but here. But my knees buckled, and instead I slid down the cabinet until I was sitting on the cold floor, back against the cupboards. The house was still quiet, but it didn't feel safe anymore. I don't know how long I stayed there, staring at that phone lying on the floor like a loaded gun. Minutes, hours. When I finally reached for it, my hands felt numb. I should have stopped there. I should have thrown it into a drawer, locked it away, done anything but what I did. But I pressed play and watched every second of it. Every sound, every touch, every betrayal. It was in my house, in my bed, in my living room. The couch where my grandchildren sometimes sat with their juice boxers and watched cartoons. The kitchen table where we ate Sunday dinners. All of it contaminated now. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come. My throat felt raw, like I had swallowed glass. My tears finally came, hot and unstoppable, soaking my nightgown. I couldn't stop watching. There were more videos, dozens, different days, different angles. Some with my sister laughing, whispering things I couldn't hear but could read on her lips. Each one stabbed a little deeper. By the third video, the tears stopped. Not because I felt better, no, because I was empty, hollow. I put the phone down slowly, as if it might explode. The world felt very still, like even the house was holding its breath. I don't remember how I got up, but suddenly I was on my feet. Walking through the house in a daze, I passed the hallway where my sister once slept after a fight with her boyfriend. I could still see her curled up under the blanket I gave her, thanking me softly before she fell asleep. I passed the living room where my husband and I had sat late at night, holding hands while watching old movies, sharing popcorn like teenagers. I walked into the bedroom, our bedroom, and stood there staring at the bed. I could still smell him. And her. My chest tightened until I thought I might suffocate. I sat down on the edge of the bed, head in my hands, shaking. How long had this been going on? When had my life stopped belonging to me and become some kind of cruel joke? I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The cracks in the paint seemed deeper tonight. Like they were mocking me, like they knew. When I finally closed my eyes, I didn't sleep. I saw them, over and over. Every time I blinked, it was there again, his hands, her smile, their betrayal. By morning, I felt like I had aged 10 years in one night. Morning sunlight streamed into the kitchen, far too bright for the way I felt. The world outside was calm, birds chirped. A breeze rustled the trees, but inside, I felt like a bomb had gone off. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had long gone cold, staring blankly at nothing. My husband's phone sat in the center of the table like a poisonous artifact. I kept asking myself the same question. When did I lose him? It wasn't always like this. We met when I was 22, young, naive, and so ready to fall in love. He had that quiet, confident charm, the kind that makes you feel safe just standing next to him. He wasn't loud or flashy like other boys. He listened. He made me laugh. And when he asked me to marry him a year later, I said yes, without a moment's hesitation. Those early years were good. Better than good, actually. We didn't have much money, but we had each other. We used to stay up late, just talking about the future, about the house we'd buy one day, the kids we'd have, the life we'd build. And we did build it. We bought this house. We raised our children here. We painted the walls together, laughing when we accidentally splattered paint on each other's clothes. We planted the rose bushes outside. We celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and Christmases in this living room. This house wasn't just bricks and wood to me. It was my life's work. And then there was my sister. She was 10 years younger than me, always the wild one, always getting into trouble. When our parents passed away, I became her guardian. I was 25 with a toddler on my hip, trying to juggle a job, a marriage, and a teenager who thought she knew everything. But I loved her. When she had her first heartbreak, I was the one who held her while she cried. When she needed a dress for her prom, I worked overtime to buy it for her. When she dropped out of college, I was the one who convinced our parents' friends not to give up on her. When she had nowhere else to go, I opened my home. My husband had been reluctant at first, but he warmed up to her quickly. Too quickly, I thought back now, my stomach twisting. The memories came rushing in like an unstoppable flood, every little sign I had brushed aside. The way he always seemed to defend her when I scolded her. The inside jokes they shared that didn't include me. The nights she stayed up late in the kitchen with him, laughing softly while I went to bed alone. I used to tell myself that it was good they got along, that it meant we were all a family. But now, looking back, I wondered if I had been blind all along. I stood up, suddenly restless, and walked into the living room. The couch was still there, cushions slightly sunken from years of use. That was where I had sat with my sister one Christmas Eve, both of us wrapped in blankets, drinking cocoa, talking about her dreams. She had looked at me with those big brown eyes and said, "You're the only one who's ever believed in me." And now she had betrayed me in the most intimate, devastating way possible. I walked to the hallway mirror and caught sight of myself. I barely recognized the woman staring back. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes swollen from crying, her face pale. When had I gotten so small? When had I stopped being the strong woman who built this family? Who raised 2 children? Who kept this house standing even when times were hard? A spark lit inside me then. I wasn't just going to sit here and let them turn me into a ghost in my own home. This house was mine. My life was mine. And they had no idea what was coming. That spark inside me burned all through the night. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of the air conditioner, replaying every single moment of my life with him and with her. Every laugh, every dinner, every whispered secret between sisters. And then I remembered something my mother once told me. Never let them see you break. If you want to win, you do it with a steady hand. So when the sun came up, I rose from the bed, washed my face, brushed my hair, and put on a clean outfit. When my husband came into the kitchen that morning, yawning, stretching, acting like nothing had happened, I smiled at him. I smiled. I poured him coffee. I asked him if he wanted eggs. And I saw the confusion flicker in his eyes. He didn't know what I knew. Not yet. That day, I started watching them more closely. I didn't confront him. I didn't confront her. I simply observed, like a scientist gathering evidence for an experiment. When he left for work, I checked his phone again. I copied everything, every photo, every video onto a secure drive. I wrote down dates, times. I backed everything up twice. Then I started watching my sister. She came over later that afternoon, all smiles, hugging me like nothing was wrong. My stomach turned, but I hugged her back. She smelled like my shampoo, the same one I kept in the bathroom. That night, I walked into my bedroom while my husband was showering and looked at my bed as though it were a crime scene. I stripped the sheets, threw them into the wash, and changed them. Not for him, for me. For the next few weeks, I played the role of the perfect wife and sister. I smiled, I cooked, I laughed. But inside, I was building something. Brick by brick, a plan so carefully constructed that when it was ready, it would collapse their little secret world like a house of cards. I started visiting a lawyer, quietly, discreetly. The lawyer was kind but firm. "We can get him out of this house," she said. "You own it. He has no right to stay if you don't want him here." And with this evidence, she tapped the folder of photos and videos I had brought. "You could have full control of everything by the time we're done." Every word she spoke gave me strength. When I left her office, I walked a little taller. The next day, I went shopping.com. Not for groceries. For a brand new set of locks. I didn't change them yet. No, that would be too soon. Instead, I waited.com. I waited for the perfect moment, the one where it would hurt the most. And then, that moment came. It happened on a Friday night. The house was unusually quiet. My husband said he had to work late. My sister told me she was going out with friends. But my gut told me everything I needed to know. So, I waited. I turned off all the lights in the house and sat in the living room. Just me and the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. And then I heard the faint sound of tires crunching on the gravel driveway. I stood up and peeked through the curtains. There they were. Together. They weren't coming from work. They weren't coming from some random outing. They were coming here, to my house. I stepped back, heart racing, and waited. The front door opened. They stepped inside, whispering and laughing, thinking I wasn't home. And that was when I hit the switch and turned on every light in the house. The look on their faces was priceless. My husband froze like a deer in headlights. My sister's jaw dropped open. "Hi," I said calmly. Sitting back down on the couch like I had been waiting for them all night. They exchanged nervous glances. What are you doing here?" My husband stammered. I tilted my head. "I live here," I said. "Remember." My sister tried to speak, but I held up my hand. "No," I said sharply. "You don't get to talk right now. Sit down, both of you." They hesitated. I said sit down. My voice cracked through the room like a whip. They sat. I stood up, grabbed the folder I had been keeping for weeks, and tossed it onto the coffee table. Photos spilled out, screenshots of texts, still frames from videos, printed copies of call logs, their faces drained of color. "I know everything," I said, my voice low and steady. "Every single thing." My husband tried to grab the papers, but I slapped his hand away. "Don't," I said. "You don't get to touch anything in this house anymore." My sister started crying. "I'm sorry," she said softly, but I didn't let her finish. "No, you're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You came into my home, ate my food, hugged me like you loved me, and all the while you were betraying me with the man I married." Tears streamed down her face. I turned to my husband. "And you," I spat. "You threw away our marriage, our family, everything we built for what? 4 cheap thrills with the one person you knew would hurt me the most." He opened his mouth, but I didn't want to hear it. "Save it, I don't care. You're both done." Then I reached into my bag, pulled out the brand new house keys, and tossed them on the table. "These are the only keys to this house now," I said. "And guess what? Neither of you are staying." Their heads shot up in shock. "You can't do that." My husband shouted. "Yes, I can," I said, pulling out the paperwork my lawyer had prepared. "This house is in my name, and as of right now, you're trespassing. You have 10 minutes to pack whatever you can carry and get out. If you're not gone by then, I will call the police." My sister sobbed harder. My husband glared at me, but he knew I wasn't bluffing. They scrambled around the house, throwing clothes and random belongings into bags. I followed them from room to room, watching, making sure they didn't take anything that wasn't theirs. When they were finally out the door, I closed it behind them and turned the lock. Then I leaned against the door, letting out a long, shaky breath. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt free. I walked through the house slowly, touching the furniture, the pictures on the wall, the curtains. It was mine again, and I vowed then and there no one would ever take it from me again. The next morning, the house was silent, but this time, it was a peaceful silence. No footsteps shuffling in the kitchen. No fake laughs. No whispers behind my back. Just me, the sunlight streaming through the curtains, and the faint smell of coffee I brewed for myself. For a moment, I just stood there, holding the mug, soaking it in. Then my phone buzzed. It was him. "Husband, Please, let's talk. I made a mistake. I stared at the screen for a long time before I typed a single word. Me, no. And then I blocked his number. Later that week, my sister tried showing up at my door. She was crying, begging me to let her in. Please, she said through the door, I have nowhere else to go. I pressed my forehead against the door for a second, my heart aching, but then I stepped back. You made your choice, I said loudly enough for her to hear. This house isn't yours anymore. Then I walked away and let her cries fade into the distance. Over the next few weeks, I transformed the house. I got rid of the sheets they had shared. I replaced the furniture they had touched. I even painted the walls a new color, something warm, something that felt like me. Each stroke of the brush was like wiping away a little more of the pain they had caused me. I started going out again, meeting new people, reconnecting with friends I had lost touch with because of the toxic relationship I had been trapped in. For the first time in years, I laughed. Really laughed. And one day, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, I realized something. I didn't just take back my house that night. I took back my life, and I wasn't going to give it to anyone else ever again.